Newport News Shipbuilding continues to see a high number of positive COVID-19 cases throughout the shipyard. As a result, efforts continue to help control the spread. We recently announced the return to a new 3-shift rotation that distributes employees more evenly but allows for the same level of cleaning. Still, there are many concerns. We see them every day on social media, and today we wanted to get together to answer some of your questions. So, with me now is Dru Branche, the Director of Environmental Health, Safety, and Security, and Dr. Steve Apostoles, Newport News Shipbuilding's Medical Director. Thanks so much, both of you, for being here. So, Dru, let's start with you. We continue to see a high number of cases. Do we know why?
I think that it has to do with a number of factors. Cases are on the rise across the United States. As we've opened up more, people are interacting more, we're in phase 3. There's just more opportunity for people to contract the virus, and we're seeing a like and similar trend here at Newport News Shipbuilding.
So one of the things we've put out in recent communications is obviously remembering to social distance, and one of the things we talked about is even during lunch, we need to be careful during that time as well. We got a little blowback, I'll tell you, on Facebook that people were thinking maybe we were blaming them for not doing the right thing during lunch. Is there anything further, Doctor or Dru, that you can talk about?
Everybody's circumstance is different depending upon where you are in the yard, and absolutely there are cases that are because of close contact in a work environment, pulling cable, working on a valve, building staging. But there are also folks who tell us, hey, this was because of my contact in my crew meeting area, when I was eating lunch, when we were together before the start of shift. So we're just trying to take as many things as we possibly can and put them out there for people to consider.
So let's talk about another area that seems to have some confusion, and that's quarantine. There's a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different ways that somebody might become quarantined. So let's just use an example. So perhaps that I'm working very closely with a coworker, and we've been in the same area, maybe not always done the right thing, maybe had a mask off when we shouldn't have, and then that coworker tests positive for COVID. What then happens to me? What's the next step that I need to follow and that the shipyard will make sure that I'm following?
So what happens there, Brian, is we are aware that an employee tests positive. So either I call the employee myself or Dr. Flanagan calls the employee, and we ask, when your symptoms started, where were you tested, when did you get your test result, when's the last day you worked, and then we conduct a contact investigation, and we determine who you were closer than 6 feet to for more than 15 minutes, and then based on our contact investigation, I let Dru know, and she reaches out to the supervision and to make sure that everybody agrees on who the close contacts were. And if you're closer than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes and you weren't in your PPE, then you're going to be quarantined for 14 days in that particular case.
We've got a lot of folks on Facebook who are asking questions, like we have Mike Fennell who reached out to us via Facebook, and he wants to know, why is it we have a confirmed case in my crew, but we all weren't sent home for 14 days? I think you answered it, but I want you to kind of reinforce that answer.
Sure, just to reiterate, so in Mike's particular situation, I don't remember that specific case, but probably when we identified close contacts, he or the other members that weren't quarantined weren't identified as being closer than 6 feet for more than 15 minutes.
You know, Brian, I'd add on to that a contact investigation it isn't that it's complex, but it's hard. There are a lot of elements to it. We pull badge records, so we ensure that we know where the employee was. We want to understand where the employee's been so that we can be very, very thorough in it. And we engage supervision, we engage the employee, we take the technology. For those that are working off site, we use my time. We have a lot of facts in front of us when we start the contact investigation.
So do we know for sure through the contact tracing exactly where the cases originate? Because some shipbuilders will probably debate you when you say that it's mostly community spread. So how do we know that, Dru?
Again, we base it on the information that the positive cases provide us, and then those cases that we consider work-related exposure are those where you're already in quarantine because of an exposure here at work.
I see people saying with the rise in cases, with the way it's going throughout the state and the country, why don't we shut down for 2 weeks, get everybody tested, and then allow everybody that's negative to come back into the yard and everyone else to stay home? Sounds great, but what are the problems with that?
Well, the problems with that is the 2 weeks, in my opinion, is kind of arbitrary. So let's say you shut the yard down, you test 25,000 people in that 2-week period. So they'll all be tested on different days. So let's say I got tested today. So I get my results back. The yard shut down tomorrow, and in 14 days we come back to work. That test result is no longer good. So I could have been exposed during that 14-day period again, and I can be positive. So that's the problem with shutting the yard down and testing everybody one time. You would have to test them several times over the 14 days to be sure that they were not positive.
If I, on my own, go to the doctor and I test positive for COVID-19, do I need to notify the shipyard or do I just stay home?
Now, you need to notify us of a positive test so we can determine with you if you expose potentially another shipbuilder.
Is there a simple answer as to who gets paid during quarantine?
Brian, if you are quarantined because of a work-related exposure, you will be paid. If they are exposed more than once in work-related, they will be paid more than once for work-related. In most cases, employees are also paid for exposures that occur outside the shipyard, provided they submit medical documentation that confirms a quarantine period. Repeat requests for quarantine pay due to outside exposure to COVID are reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
How long is somebody quarantined? Some people say that they've seen different time frames for that. What is the shipyard's guidance on how long somebody is quarantined?
If you're a work-related contact, it's 14 days after your last exposure to that individual. So if they don't get their test results back for 4 or 5 days, it's not 14 days from when they get their test results back. It's 14 days since the last time you were with them. So your total quarantine period may be 14 days minus however long it was since they were last here.
That's why everybody's different. Their days are different. So we want people to realize we treat each case as an individual case. That's why either Dr. Flanagan or myself is going to talk to you personally, and everyone's unique. So it's very hard to compare your case to somebody else's because, as Dru just stated, you might not have been exposed to that person for 7 days, so it's 14 minus 7, and then you only have to quarantine 7 days. At the end of your quarantine period, call the COVID hotline, and if you've been symptom-free for 72 hours off of all medications, you can probably come back to work unless your treating physician has told you something differently.
So let's talk about, again, the prevention and masks, because there's still, a lot of questions about masks and how effective they are and when they should be wearing them. And we basically, one of the things we emphasize is in transit, I guess, or while you're going from one place to another. I mean, some people getting out of their car and walking to the shipyard may think, well, I don't need to put a mask on. I'm not around anybody. I'm just walking to the turnstile. So what is your advice there?
We feel it's easier to say when you're in a shipyard, have your mask on. Now, I'm also realistic. It's 100 degrees outside, so it's okay to take your mask off from time to time and wipe the sweat off your face and, take take in some deep breaths and kind of relax without the mask, but ensure that you are not within 6 feet of someone when you do that. You guys are all very bright, so I know you can determine if you're social distancing when you take your mask off, and that's what we're asking you to do because we care about you. We're not trying to blame the shipbuilders for this situation. You know, we're all in it together, and we just want to, you know, we hear what you're saying, and we're working together to get through this. And it's going to be this way until we get a vaccination. So I just want everyone to realize that we're not pointing the finger. I think everyone's doing the best we can. We care about one another, and it's the same old message: social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, take individual responsibility, and do your part so we can stay open and continue to perform our mission.
We want your ideas. We obviously are looking at social media, and we want to make sure that we're answering the questions that you have, so please keep on asking them, and we'll do our best to make sure that we answer them not only in this format, on Facebook and videos, but also in our frequently asked questions and in Jennifer Boykin's weekly update.
Right. If you submit your questions, we'll absolutely get answers to them.
Great. All right, Dru Branche and Dr. Stephen Apostoles, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. So please remember the 411 website, our social media pages, and NNS to Go for the latest information. Thanks so much. I'm Brian Moore.